And so that's when I said, that's not a porg, that's my wife.
Oh, jokes.
All the time. So punny.
Hey guys, welcome to Star Wars Hour, your source of Star Wars news right here on the Star Wars Network. I'm Rich, this is my buddy D-Rock, and we bring you the best of Star Wars news. So don't forget to tell all your friends to subscribe right here to the Star Wars Network. I'm so glad you're joining us today. We got so many great news stories to tell you. And then, of course, after about 40 to 50 minutes, we save the last 10 to 20 minutes to answer your live questions about what we're talking about today, as well as other Star Wars issues.
And always remember to hit that dingle-dangle for the jingle-jangle. That's something to come, which we will talk about a little later. That is some deep cuts, some inside scoop to poop for you, which is super not relevant right now, but I'm super excited. So, in summary of this week's Star Wars news is bullshit. It's just a whole lot of bullshit. We're coming down to the wire on the release of the Solo movie. So low in the ratings still that
Just
Disney is doing everything they can to survive. Oh my God, Rich. It is not pleasant. It is not pleasant.
Tell me all about it, D-Rock.
I will. Did you want to start off with our lead? Or do you want to start off with what we led with this time instead of burying the lead?
Now, let's get right into it. Let's get right into it this time.
Right.
So, as you guys know, Carrie Fisher is no longer with us. But she had a huge role to play in Episode 9, especially in the original plan that was JJ's 7, 8, 9. Of course, we know that Rian Johnson didn't follow all of JJ's guidelines for how he would have done Episode 8, but now we've gone full circle. JJ is doing Episode 9. And of course, he had to write a new script because, you know, Carrie's no longer with us, and there had to be some adjustments, especially, you know, considering he didn't care for everything Rian Johnson did in Episode 8 either. So there's probably going to be a little bit of backtracking, a little bit of reinventing, a little bit of some interesting interpretation to what was going on in there.
Yes.
But what we're talking about specifically today is what they're going to do about Princess Leia. So,
oh my God, Meryl Streep is Princess Leia. Is that not what because that's what the internet made it sound like.
Not officially, no. But they are, you know, there's a few things going on. There's a huge fan petition going on for people that would like for Princess Leia to be recast as Meryl Streep. I know that the studio is thinking about it. Of course, we don't know what JJ did in the script, so I don't know how that affects things. I personally think that the best option at this point, it would be sad for the character of Princess Leia. In my opinion, the best thing to do would honestly just kill the character off screen. Maybe explain it in the opening crawl that, you know, she's dead, and maybe the first scene of Episode 9 is her funeral.
Well,
you know, then they could have a funeral for Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, and Princess Leia, because they're all dead now.
Yeah.
It would be just a big funeral for the heroes of the old rebellion, which I think would be really cool. Or you just use, you know, I know CGI is a hateful word these days in Star Wars. People didn't like Tarkin in Rogue One. I loved it though.
I thought he looked great.
Guys, technology is only going to get better. I think that if they just CG'd, and Carrie Fisher would love it.
Yeah.
If they just CG'd Leia just for 2 or 3 scenes just to finish off her arc and then kill her off in some meaningful way, that also would be preferable. I will say, though, if you're gonna go the route of recasting Princess Leia, I don't think you could do much worse than Meryl Streep. Meryl Streep has already played Carrie Fisher in a movie from the late 80s called Postcards from the Edge, which was about Carrie Fisher's relationship with her mother, and Meryl Streep did a great job with all of those Carrie Fisher isms. You know, she definitely had the hand gestures and the attitude and everything, so you know, for her to play a 30 years older Carrie Fisher now, I don't think would be that much of a stretch, especially considering Meryl Streep is probably the greatest actress of all time.
But Rich, you are still burying the lead.
What is it? What is it?
The lead is that none of this shit matters. It's that all of this that came up was via one petition that 10,000 people signed on some site that said, we want Meryl Streep to be Carrie Fisher because everybody loves Meryl Streep. Like, cheers to you if you're one of those people. I'm a firm believer in what they're doing currently with the Star Wars saga, which is finding entirely new actors. I don't think they should recast Carrie at all. If they do, it's going to be a terrible mistake, and probably just in general, I don't think Carrie would care because she never cared, but I don't think it would be doing right by her. Now, this is a problem because now the internet runs what we do in Star Wars, apparently.
Well, Disney's really afraid to upset fans right now, considering fans weren't happy with The Last Jedi. Fans are already upset with Han Solo, even though it's a movie we haven't even seen yet.
Well, I'm furious.
But right now, this is the thing. I think that officially Lucasfilm is staying quiet because they want to just release Solo. You know, after it's going to be 2-3 months after Solo that we're going to hear anything official about this Carrie Fisher stuff. All of it is going to be speculation until then because they want to sell their movie, make a lot of as much money as they can off of this movie that already has some bad juju going on with it, and then once bad publicity, good publicity, however the Solo movie ends up, they have to let that die down before they start talking about what's going to happen in Episode 9.
Yes.
But my gut instincts tells me that they will use Meryl Streep for a maximum of 2 or 3 scenes to end that arc.
See her way out. Yeah. Yes, which I could agree with that being done as long as they don't decide that Carrie's not dead and they decide to continue Leia through Streep. I think that would be just a terrible mistake to where they're trying to take that series. But as we well know, none of the directors listen to each other. That's some news in a minute. And even we just heard yesterday or earlier today, or no, actually I think it was 2 days ago, Mark Hamill's take on recasting Carrie. And he is more on the me train, or I'm on his train, which is it's probably not the best idea. It's going to be really hard to find Carrie. Now you can do it because obviously Meryl Streep has been there before, but the issue with that is having the way Meryl Streep is aged versus how the way Carrie aged. They are extremely different people now. It would truly just be an homage, and to have her carry an entire movie, to carry the entirety of Episode 9 on her back, would be just hard to watch.
You know, yeah, we don't really know because, again, we don't know how the movie has now been rewritten. It's tough because we can assume that because, she lived in Episode 8 and they were planning on Princess Leia being an important part of Episode 9, that she was going to have some kind of breakthrough maybe with Kylo Ren being her son in the movie. So it's sad that we won't really get whatever the original plan was with that. Yeah. I just hope that whatever they do is just as meaningful in a different way. I feel like with JJ's reputation of being a starter and not a finisher, it has us all a little bit worried, especially under these dire circumstances. Yeah. Because again, I love, Lost, and I love, I even liked the rebooted Star Treks, but it's just like as you go, and then he leaves. So he's just like, you guys figure out how to end this stuff.
Yeah, it's really interesting how it bounces back and forth, and I mean, we can talk on the Meryl Streep later. I just want to make sure we get all the points out, and that's a good segue into just the way those directors have not been listening to each other, how they have not been playing so far in the Star Wars universe.
Such a big ego.
I know, and this was a huge. I don't think it's a huge thing because we all already knew this. But as far as what the Disney team's doing with burying the lead, which is Solo, they do not want anything released on this Solo film, and they have kept that an absolute priority. They've decided to continue to release little items such as Simon Pegg says that Rian Johnson didn't listen to J.J. Abrams. Yeah! No kidding! We've already been over that 1,000 times. We knew that Rian Johnson had this perfectly written plan that they went together with, and that they worked on, and then Ryan literally took the script like he did in the movie with the lightsaber and went chuck and just threw it over his shoulder. He decided very early on, literal chuck. And so Simon Pegg had said that JJ and Ryan did not agree about the origin of Rey's parents, and that JJ's plan for the origin is something significantly more complicated and probably more impactful. Now, cool thing about the way Ryan did it is now if JJ still wants to bring something up in Episode 9, Kylo could have just lied. That is not above Kylo as a person, and frankly, it probably wouldn't surprise us.
Because, of course, and we've discussed this ad nauseum as well, it just seemed like Kylo was kind of giving her what she kind of was fearing. He was trying to, really dig into that fear, trying to get her to the dark side.
Get her to come to his side.
You know that's what it is. Your heart, you know it to be true, know.
Yeah, a lot of the melodrama that Kylo is inherently is really played out in the directors and their battle, which is just the best. Should have absolutely gotten Rich some coffee before we started.
So, yes.
But side note with that, which leads on to the next one, is some little leaks. Nothing major or super confirmed or even what it means. But Episode 9 is going to be an all-out war. You think we've seen war so far. They're really going to be pushing that interaction between the both of them when Rey and Finn reunite. Now, we saw a little bit of that at the end, just on the weird dynamic of that and just how that's going to play in with Rose. I think there's going to be a lot of internal conflict with that.
And Lucasfilm is still insisting that this doesn't just wrap up the sequel trilogy, like this wraps up the entire saga. Now, what that means, who knows?
Everyone dies.
Everyone, the galaxy explodes. That's how you resolve everything.
In reverse Big Bangs. In reverse vacuums, or in a big vacuum.
Giant universe-sized black hole.
Yep. Yeah, just everybody. Yeah, so it's just gonna be interesting to see how we're able to get through Episode 8 and the solo film with no Carrie, and then have them still make these huge swathing statements like Episode 9 is going to wrap up everything. We're going to tie every loose end known to man. Yeah, I know you're a great leader. I'm blanking on her name.
What, Kathleen Kennedy?
Yeah, Kathleen. I know you're a great leader, Kathleen, but we talked last time we were on here about her just needing to take a step back and just running the filmography. She does not need to be the lead canon expert on this.
No, please just give that to Filoni. Dave Filoni would be excellent at it, and this is just where he needs to be in that company. He really should have her job.
Yeah, well, yes. At least parse the positions so that it's not her running the entire show, which is how it has been right now, which is leading to a lot of issues. Also seeing a huge issue with her lead in like the gaming world right now, with how EA has been responding to it. There's apparently a big update in Battlefront 2, but I frankly haven't touched it since the first 2 months because it was just so hard to play.
And I think that's where everybody's at, because we all kind of like got over it because of all the bad press and what was actually wrong with the game and everything. I was saying on the last video game talk too, it's like if they had released the game the way that it is right now, I think that's the game I'd be playing every weekend, not PUBG.
No, or Fortnite, or I think I just bought Far Cry 5. Amazing.
No.
Sorry.
I need to get Far Cry 5.
I know, derailed, but holy crap, Far Cry 5. I wish any of those developers would make a Star Wars game.
Right, and so Disney keeps threatening to look for a new licensor.
Please!
And
don't stop threatening.
I think we were all of the opinion that EA is kind of just doing whatever they can, especially with the news that they were going to look for, they're looking for new developers for new open world Star Wars games. It's all just a bunch of crap. They're all just putting that out there in the ether so that Disney be like, oh, EA is doing something. But no, Disney, they're not giving Disney enough credit. They're smarter than that. They're going to figure out EA's crap, and they're going to not continue to have them have that license. I think. I am 80% positive that by the end of the year, Star Wars will be licensed by Activision Blizzard and not EA.
That is a big stretch. I don't think it'll be done just due to the nature of the titles that Blizzard has turned out.
But that's who they were talking about. When the rumor leaked, what was it, like 3 months ago, is like the biggest company that they were looking at was Activision.
But that's gotta be fan service. I mean, it just has to be. We're at this point where I don't... In the past, we'd be able to look at some of the leaks and go, oh, damn, like that's something that's relevant. That's something that could be real. But at this point, Kathleen she's running such a tight ship that the stuff that gets released isn't just for fun. It's not a true leak. It's not just us getting some insider info to get us excited about the next one. They are carefully calculated and pre-scripted discussions and leaks. That is my firm belief.
I think what they want is, I don't know why, like they want. It seems like Lucasfilm, all they really want, all they really want is Battlefront because of the nature of it or whatever. And since EA is failing, they look at Activision, because Activision consistently puts out a new Call of Duty every year and is is really good at what they do. I'm not the biggest Call of Duty fan, but they are consistent. They put because so far we've had 2 Battlefront games, and they've been one in 2014 or 2015. I can't remember. It was 2 or 3 years apart from Battlefront 2. That's only 2 Star Wars games in the last 5 years since EA has had the license. Activision puts out without a fail, puts out a new Call of Duty every single year. Well, so I think that's what they were looking at when they're looking at Activision.
Well, get bummed, Rich, because the other leak that happened this week is that it doesn't look like we're going to get a follow-up for another 2 years. It's going to be May 2020 before we see just a follow-up on a game. It's going to be some time. I think there needs to be not only a lot of development put into whatever they release next, but if you give it to Activision, you expect them to make a Battlefront 3, that's going to be a terrible decision. It is. I think they should take a break from the Battlefront series. I think the OGs were the best. I think they should just reskin those and release them because they were fantastic. But we should really focus on getting us what we've always wanted, which is another MMO, another large story-driven game that just allows us to play more in the Star Wars universe. Not anything that is needed like The Matrix, where you have to watch it in order to watch the movies, but why not? Why not do what Disney's doing on all other fronts and create a whole new canon like they're doing with their live-action series, like their TV series that they're supposedly working on and all this other stuff? Why not just truly create your own canon? You want to do that by getting rid of all the other ones, Disney. Just go ahead and do it.
I mean, I'm not against another MMO, but I really want to see the return of just like a 10-hour single-player game.
Yeah.
In the style of, say, Shadows of the Empire, even The Force Unleashed. I thought was good.
Yeah.
Just do another one like that. Of course, they'll go, but single-player story campaigns don't sell very well. So I don't know.
That's because you're not making good single-player story campaigns. I'm sorry. The ones that have been great, we saw The Witcher. We have all these other games that are... Far Cry is co-op, but, we're having all these other games that are coming out with these really in-depth storylines, and just to say that they don't sell well is a cop-out. Yeah. They're not selling well because you're not doing it right.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so... I don't know. Activision, of course, as you guys probably know, isn't even my first. That's just what I think is going to happen.
I know what your first choice.
Yeah, my first choice would, of course, be Bethesda. Man, if Bethesda had the Star Wars license, get ready for the 100-hour, 2,000 quest Star Wars game.
Good.
They could make a good Star Wars game.
That would be incredible.
But we'll probably never see it, sadly.
Nope.
Bethesda's actually working on their own space adventure, and I can't wait to see that.
I am super pumped.
But yeah, going back to, I'm going to go back to Carrie Fisher just for a second, since a few people are just coming in.
Talking about it, yeah.
But yeah, we were discussing Carrie Fisher, and yeah, they're against CGI. They're probably going to be against killing her off screen, which is what I think would be the easiest and best thing to do, so you don't even have to replace her in any way. Just respect her, to kill her off screen, and then have a funeral for her in the movie. That's what I think. But I said if they just have 2 or 3 scenes with Meryl Streep as the Princess Leia just to end her arc, that would be fine. All right.
Yes. Yeah, no, and I agree. And they can always do what they've done in some of the other ones in the past. I mean, you're not going to want to... what's that one where they did the motion or like the live capture and then they touched it up? It's that snowy train movie that everybody hates because it looks too real.
Are you talking about Polar Express?
Yeah. So don't Polar Express her, but if you want to do a little bit of touch up for a couple of scenes on Streep's features to just make her look more like Carrie, she can act her way out of any situation. She's incredible. And so that I don't discount her at all.
That would be an interesting discussion, like if she would allow herself to be touched up digitally to make her look more like Carrie Fisher, because I can't help but feel like she'd be like, yeah, I'm really down to play Princess Leia, but
I need to be me.
I'm Meryl Streep,
Yeah, but I can appreciate that at the same time that I do not think Meryl Streep at any point, despite my bashing on her, I don't think at any point she has ever become super too big for her britches. I think she's played her part really well as kind of the queen of Hollywood, but I don't know if that's really her. I think she appreciates it, but I think if they came to her, or Carrie's family came to her, or Disney came to her with a real earnest suggestion of, look, you're the best person for this job. You can act far beyond anything we've ever seen. You've already played Carrie. Can we touch you up a bit in order to carry out her legacy and let her die?
I mean, Carrie Fisher and Meryl Streep were very close friends, so I feel like she more than anyone else, maybe she might be down to do that. So
yeah, and I think that might also, you brought up a good point, because of the them being good friends, Meryl Streep might not do that. Like, if Rich were to die, then would I put on a giant baby head with little goatee marks in order to basically pretend to be Rich? No, because I respect him as a person. I can never take his spot. And so that would be, if I was Meryl Streep, I don't think I could do an homage to that.
Yeah.
Do you like how well I presented that really niche backstory thing we did yesterday?
Super deep cuts.
Yeah. See, I like to give little nuggets like that. Rich doesn't like it as much as I do. I like to give little nuggets like this because then I know if somebody comes back and watches this in a few weeks after being a fan of the Rich Alvarez channel, they're going to be like, oh, he said it.
Spoilers, maybe.
I don't know. I didn't write it.
So, anyways, there's that.
I can derail him with the best. I'm like a penny on a train track. Derailing Rich one comment at a time.
Okay, yeah.
So do we have anything else we want to say on Meryl Streep right now?
No, let's move past Meryl Streep.
I think we've kind of covered that. I mean, the rest of the news this week was rough. It really runs back down into just a ton of speculation on the Solo film because that's what everybody cares about, and then a bunch of just no news because they had
they're keeping it so under wraps. They're so afraid to say anything now
which is frustrating. I mean, it's just frustrating as far as an amped portion goes. I think the only reason the Solo movie may not flop now is because nobody's gonna remember it. Yeah. It's gonna come out. They had the issue with the posters. They had the issue with the acting. They had to reshoot everything. They brought in Ron Howard. They had the director issue. Like, they've had so many problems with this film that I'm gonna go see it because I'm on a Star Wars News Network channel. So yeah, I'm gonna go see it so I can tell you guys about it. But man, I don't think the general populace and general Star Wars fans are going to come out. I don't think the old or the young.
I think that this movie is going to suffer in a lot of ways. A lot of people are not going to see it opening weekend because they're going to want to wait to see what the critics think. They're going to want to wait to see what the fans think because of what happened with The Last Jedi. So what probably would have been a very successful 150 million weekend is probably now at best a 75 million weekend.
Do we know how much they've spent on it yet?
This movie with the amount of reshoots they've done, it's probably exceeded 300 million.
Yeah, it's probably insane. It's gonna end up being the John Carter of the Star Wars universe. Yeah, which deep cuts on this because nobody's brought it up has always been my theory on why Disney produced and created John Carter is because they were looking to push their CGI limit before taking over. I mean, because arguably John Carter is beautiful.
I actually like that movie and wish it had a sequel.
Yeah, but
it got a lot of bad rap, but I liked it a lot.
My thought for that is it was kind of their preamble to creating this whole Star Wars universe to see if they really could turn out a legitimate CGI only, more or less, film.
That's a very interesting theory, but that's not exactly what happened.
Okay, so what do you got for me, Rich?
So quick thoughts on Film School with Rich Alvarez. So John Carter, Disney had been trying to acquire the rights to the John Carter of Mars books for decades, and then finally acquired it, and they were going to burst out their first movie, John Carter of Mars. Like literally 2 months before the movie came out, Moms for Mars flopped at the box office, and then everybody in the ether of movies, they were like, you can't use Mars in your title. Movies these days with Mars in the title don't do very well. They're like, okay, I guess we'll just call it John Carter,
unless you're Matt Damon.
And so, The Martian. So what happened was the movie got promoted as John Carter of Mars, and a lot of people were looking forward to it. And then they just released it as John Carter, and because movie fans aren't always on top of things. Not everybody watches movie news shows like this. Correct. They don't realize what's going on, and they're like, oh, John Carter. A lot of people just go up to the box office on a Friday night to watch a movie and just decide right there. John Carter, what's John Carter? Is that a crime movie?
Yeah.
Like, what is that? No, I'll go see X-Men. Because an X-Men movie came out at the same time. So a lot of people skipped John Carter because it didn't sound very interesting without the John Carter of Mars. And so the movie cost like 150, 200 million to make, only made like 100 million at the box office. And so they were very disappointed with that. It was a whole year later, actually, that Disney even bought Star Wars in 2014.
That's my point. I think they were in talks about it already. I know their making of the John Carter film was not... They've been doing all the backstory,
But
why they were pushing that CGI limit, I think, was related to that, because they did not need to make that film. They did.
I don't think they knew that they were going to acquire Star Wars.
I think they did.
George Lucas was really tight on that until like the last minute. He went over to he set up a meeting between him, Kathleen Kennedy, Bob Iger, and they thought maybe they were going to make more theme park rides, and he's like, "No, I'm selling you Lucasfilm." That was a really quick decision right there.
Or maybe they were doing it in the preamble of Marvel. I really don't think I don't think they were planning to carry a ton with
because John Carter had done a lot better and they made like the money back in video rentals the next year. And they were like, yeah, I think we're going to go ahead with a sequel. And they were going to go ahead with a sequel to John Carter, but then they acquired Star Wars and they're like, no, this is our space adventure.
Yeah, as it should be. That's probably the right way to go.
I mean, if we're being truthful here, when George Lucas in the 70s, when he was making Star Wars, he said one of his biggest influences was those books, John Carter books. So, I mean, you pretty much already have John Carter, but better with Star Wars. And obviously Star Wars is way more marketable than John Carter. So they didn't really care. But I do think that if Lucas had kept Star Wars, we would have seen
the John Carter,
another John Carter movie, especially
kind of come to its own.
If Lucas had just made Episode 7 on his own, then Disney would need to make those John Carter films to compete. You know, so I definitely think we would have seen that. As far as the CG, I mean, you could say, I mean, they did use a lot of the well, see, that's the thing though. This thing, I'm sorry, I'm getting real deep cuts here, but I don't think that it was made for CG test because the old Disney Digital Studio that they were using, they don't even use that anymore. Now they just use Industrial Light and Magic because they own Lucasfilm.
Well, that probably helped push their decision. I just do not see why they thought, just knowing what was out there, that John Carter would care for. I don't doubt that any of that happened because you have a significant more knowledge to me in both film and production. But from like a financial standpoint, dang, they were not getting good reviews before they released that. They knew it was going to be rough.
I mean, I do know there's a lot of key players from John Carter that ended up actually working for Weta Digital, which is Peter Jackson's digital company that, for example, makes like Peter Jackson's movies and like the Planet of the Apes movies, and like they all went over and did those movies. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I could have also just been like, I guess somewhere deep down in the Disney vault, they could have been like, let's see how much CGI the people can take. Yeah. I don't know. But then they got JJ, who was like, nah, no CG, just all practical. I don't know.
JJ. Well, I have a little bit of just random kind of behind the scenes stuff that I didn't write down as part of something I want to talk about, but we have a little bit of time here before we just get into kind of the filler as far as the news goes, just because the way the week went. But I don't know why this was news, and I don't know why it ended up picking up in my feed, but John Boyega said he talked to Marvel, which is really interesting. I mean, we've already had it been made pretty clear that Marvel and Star Wars aren't going to cross. There's a huge, I think I talked about that with the backstory a couple weeks ago, with how big of a player the Star Wars universe was going to be in the Guardians of the Galaxy, as far as what...
the lore of it and everything.
Yes,
like
exactly.
Star-Lord playing with Star Wars action figures.
Yeah, it was supposed to be significantly more involved. Now, they would have never crossed those streams because that's way too much. That's like having Disney Infinity in film. And
Disney Infinity, it no longer exists.
Yeah, correct. But it's that same concept, and so I don't know what he was talking about or what they were doing. My guess is he probably just legitimately went to talk to Marvel. Yeah, I don't think there was anything either malicious or exciting. Yeah, I think he just went to talk to Marvel.
I mean, he's in the new Pacific Rim movie too. He's doing good for himself. I would like to see John Boyega as a Marvel superhero. Actually, just trying to think what hasn't been taken yet, and the big one that they haven't done yet, as far as MCU, is Blade. They have yet to produce a new Blade movie. Do you think John Boyega could be Blade?
I think
Welcome to Marvel Hour.
I think John Boyega could be Blade, and I'm going to tie this back into Star Wars because that's why we're here. Just as far as general news goes, the way he started to create his character on Canto Bight, which chill for a minute about Canto Bight, just pretend that was its own 20-minute short, because on its own it was super fun. Like, there was a lot of stuff happened in there, and really the only reason it existed was to show us Force Boy with the broom. But John Boyega as a character, or as an actor, I think is trying different stuff. Yeah, and I think he would be great.
Did you see the movie Detroit?
No.
But he was fantastic in that movie.
Oh, great.
He was the security guard who got blamed for a lot of what happened that night. Yeah. And his performance was amazing, actually. It was very, very good. And the fact that it wasn't acknowledged at all during the Academy Awards is a travesty.
It's a little upsetting. Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of issues with the Academy Awards this year, but we'll let that lie. So, because we got about 10-15 minutes left until we go to your guys' questions, go ahead and just toss 5 question marks after any question you ask so it stands out. Or don't. I will look anyways. But go ahead and start typing them just as they come to your mind or as we talk. If you want our opinions on anything, or if you want us to do a little quick research, we can always address it the next week if we miss it. But I'm going to move forward back into Solo news because I think it's hilarious. This is how starved we've been for Solo information. Dennys menu released.
Yes, I can't believe we didn't bring this up till now, but I guess this is like super unimportant in the long run.
Yes,
but
so the Dennys Star Wars menu's out.
I'm not going to make any promises, but sort of soft expect us to do a special video for this channel.
I'll make a promise. That sounds delicious.
Oh, okay. Well,
I promise you the world.
Yeah, they are releasing a special menu just for Solo, a Star Wars story.
Yep.
Now, I feel like they haven't done something like this in a long time. The last time I remember them doing this to promote a movie was The Hobbit.
I think the last time it mattered was The Hobbit.
Yeah.
I'm sure they've done some weird special menus since then, but I can't remember if any of them were
like,
movie related.
Shire sausages were the best thing I've ever eaten in my life, and I'll never have it again. But it was great.
I'm sorry, buddy.
So
I'm sure we can find a recipe online. Do that as a Let's Go.
So they've got things like, there's stuff called like the oh, help me out here. What were the items called? I already forgot.
Oh, you know what? I'll just pull up the list real quick. Keep blabbing.
Was it Lightspeed Slam? There was one called Lightspeed Slam, pretty sure.
Yeah. Let's look up the menu. Yeah, so there was a lot of things in there, and my favorite part about the article I read is it goes, it was like, Dennys, a Star Wars Solo film releases its menu, and it tells us so much about the movie, and all it was like, they use turkey bacon instead of ham, and that means the movie's gonna suck. Like it was all of this really hard stretched thought process on like what's going on means, and I thought it was just overall hilarious.
Yeah. The Blaster Fire Burger. It's a cheeseburger with spicy ghost pepper sauce.
Yeah, I'm a fan. So let's go find. That's not the one. Let's do this one. No, no.
Hannah says the only Fast and Furious movie she ever watched was Tokyo Drift, which is the worst Fast and Furious movie.
No, actually, the reason I liked that one at the time is because the reason I liked that at the time is it was, I think, right after or right about the time Need for Speed Underground, was that the one? Mm-hmm. Yeah, Need for Speed Underground released.
Hello, cool.
Yeah, so Dennys is releasing. Rich is super pumped, and
so I'm just looking at this picture here. The to-go cups. By the way, when you're done at Dennys, you can ask for your soda to go. By the way, in case you didn't know.
Yes,
I can't believe people don't know that they give you the Dennys. Anyways, for Solo, they're giving out the to-go cups, and the lids look like little Millennium Falcons.
The original Millennium Falcons that's going to be in the Solo film.
Oh, yeah, with the long nose.
Yes,
yeah.
And I would pull this up for you guys if I didn't have some deep-cut stuff in the background. I'm afraid I'm going to show you. And so they have that, and they also have trading cards. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh, yeah, they're going to give the Topps cards?
They're going to give Topps cards, which is super interesting.
Gotta collect them all.
Yeah, going to eat so much Dennys this summer. Just an inordinate amount of Dennys. That is not going to help with my summer bod. But they have these 4 special items that we've seen so far. They have the Blaster Fire Burger. They have the Co-Reactor Pancake Breakfast.
That's really cool.
They have the 2 Moon Skillet. And then the Lightspeed Slam.
So I was right on the Lightspeed Slam.
So the Lightspeed Slam is egg white scrambled together and a spinach sausage, grape tomato, and 2 turkey bacon strips, which is the joke why the movie's going to be terrible because they used a substitute director, right?
Well, I think the pun here is that it is the Lightspeed Slam, so it's got like the egg white. It's the light fare menu.
It's going to be on their light menu, which teehee. Good work. That was actually pretty good. And so then the Fire Burger you had mentioned has the Chipotle Gouda cheese, bacon, spicy ghost pepper sauce. So good on a brioche bun, which I'm a huge fan of.
With bacon cheddar tots.
So good. So that's the other one. Then they have the Co-Reactor Pancake Breakfast, which is just pancakes and strawberries and whipped cream. And then this is actually kind of cool. I'm glad they did this. It goes along the lines of Dennys making breakfast dessert. They put Crystal Crunch Rocks, which are Pop Rocks. They put Pop Rocks on your pancakes. So
it's Pop Rocks for breakfast.
Yes. So it is amazing. And then the last one, which is literally just hash browns and eggs, is the 2 Moon Skillet. I think that's something that just as far as marketing goes, like they're doing the Solo Cups. Solo Cups is partnering with the Solo movie, which literally all I have to do is put the logo on top of their bags, and it's the same. Maybe the bottom of the cup where it says Solo will be the new Solo logo.
So does the 2 Moon Skillet confirm, there maybe does spoil us one thing, does the 2 Moon Skillet confirm that this movie does, at least in part, take place on Tatooine?
I think it has to go back to Tatooine.
Because what has 2 moons? You know?
But who are we going to see on Tatooine?
Jabba the Hutt, Boba Fett.
I guess they're coming back. I don't think Boba Fett's going to be there. You think?
You gotta have Jabba.
You gotta have Jabba.
If this movie doesn't set up Han owing money to Jabba the Hutt,
my God.
then what was the point?
There's none, because that's how all of it was set into play. That's how he ended up getting the Millennium Falcon. That's how he did the whatever.
Look, Jabba, I was on my way to pay.
Yeah, the jump in 12 parsecs. It's Han Solo. If you don't have Jabba, which, if they've done this and they managed to keep it secret on who's playing Jabba, who's the voice of Jabba, cheers to them. Man, how that hasn't released is a miracle. But we've seen no set shots of like a dude with just the Jabba head is like, hey, look at me, I'm Jabba, for the CGI portion of it. We've seen no physical effects. I don't know if they're gonna do it.
They might. I mean, with the nature of Jabba the Hutt, if they do it classic style where he just sits there the whole time, they could have just done it on the inside of a Lucasfilm soundstage where no press is allowed. I guess
that would be pretty good. I would be super. That would be that.
If he's CG, he's CG, and they could have just made him look like a bird or something.
That would be incredible if they were able to pull that out of the hat. I think that would really turn the Solo film around.
So here's the real question though: how much cholesterol are we going to get in our arteries this summer?
That's a good point. Let's check out the nutrition facts. And the answer is way too much. 510 for the New Moon Skillet. This is why you watch Star Wars news.
Dude,
actually, Rich,
that's a lot of saturated fat.
I know, because I am the master of all things segue, as we've come to know here. You just mentioned Jabba the Hutt being a part of the Tatooine experience and potentially being back in the Solo film. Well, guess what? I think for the first time, Hasbro has raised $3.85 million on creating the Jabba Barrage, which is going to be their largest vehicle ever made, which is incredible.
Which, I mean, they release stuff from old Star Wars movies all the time, but why spend so much money on it now?
Well, they didn't spend it. Fans did.
Oh.
Yes, so this was money raised in order to produce it in my understanding, some level of a Kickstarter campaign. That might be incorrect because I didn't have a chance to go follow up.
Yeah, I definitely heard a lot of this, but I can't remember exactly what was going on.
Yes, but that would play right into your theory about the 2 Moon Skillet and the going back to Tatooine. Jabba the Hutt in the Solo film, lightly suspected. Not confirmed, but lightly suspected.
Oh, yes.
And then... I'm not sure because we're at our 40-minute mark, so go ahead and toss your questions up because we're gonna do about 5 more minutes just on what we're doing on the side, and if it doesn't end up panning out that you guys have a lot of questions today, me and Rich will continue to do so. If you guys haven't seen already, me and Rich, a little personal plug here since that's really all we have for Star Wars news this week. Go ahead and Google it. I tried. There's nothing left. My well ran real dry over the last 5 days. But me and Rich have been working hard on our Star Wars Rebels Abridged series. Unfortunately, the 3rd episode was slightly delayed due to a little bit of YouTube bickering on our prior episode, and then this isn't my full-time gig, so I disappeared for a month, which tends to happen. As you saw Corey Barton last week, beautiful human being. I heard you guys had a blast. I hope you guys enjoyed that.
It was Corey, then Garrett before that, and then Jackie before that.
Yes, and so I am back for the 2 weeks, and then I'm gone for a week, and then I'm back for good. Ish. So
for now.
Yeah, as long as I can stay, I will always be here. But with that, us working on the Star Wars Rebels Abridged series, there has been some light discussion that actors and voice actors in Star Wars Rebels, I forget the name specifically, it was the one who played Sabine, had come out with a statement saying, I would love to play her again.
Oh, yeah, obviously. Yeah.
So we'll see if that ends up coming into something, because who ended up running the Rebels story?
Oh, who ran the story?
Who wrote it?
Dave Filoni.
That was it. So Dave Filoni, he's going to do his next thing, right, with Disney. I think there's more Star Wars confirmed with him.
Yeah, I mean, the ending of Rebels also suggested that Sabine and Ahsoka were going to go on their own adventure, and that's what it was going to spin off into.
And so we'll see if that ends up happening. I think it will, because Disney's doing their own streaming service, and they're going to need a lot of content, and a lot of original content, kind of like the Netflix and the Amazon Prime behemoths that they are. But with the Rebels series, me and Rich have been doing that live, the abridged, and we have had an absolute heck of a time. Like, it's a blast. We sit down and we have just a stupid amount of fun doing it. Like we mentioned, we had a little issue with our YouTube thing last week, but this next one that's coming out, I would argue, is probably the best one.
Yeah, super long story short, by the way, in case anyone's unaware, is that over the last couple of years, YouTube's gotten a little harsher with some of their weird rules when it comes to stuff. And so, even though we don't monetize yet on this channel because we don't have enough subscribers to justify monetizing our videos, we do sometimes promote our videos, but they wouldn't let us promote episode 2 because of what YouTube calls shocking content, which is weird because it didn't really have anything that was different content-wise from the first episode.
Yeah, we don't really know why.
But for some reason, they said it was shocking content, so we couldn't promote it.
So we cut back a little bit, just some inside cuts before the next one comes back. We cut back a little bit on the shocking content, and we really sat down and did just a fun time with the voiceovers and just the recreation of the moments you see in that first episode of Rebels Abridged, or Rebels, Star Wars Rebels.
Star Wars Rebels Abridged.
Yes, is ours.
The third episode is going to be a lot of fun, and I can't wait for y'all to see it. Yes. Probably just give it a couple weeks because we just finished recording all the voices.
Correct.
And so it takes time to then edit around that.
Yep.
But anyways, that's coming soon. I see a question I want to answer from Hockey Song.
We have a couple questions.
He says, and we talked about this several weeks ago, there were rumors of George Lucas returning to write the story for the Obi-Wan movie. Do you think that is a great idea? Well, that is very interesting because last year, Kathleen Kennedy said that at Disney Celebration, she was going to announce what the next spin-off film was going to be after Han Solo.
Yes.
But then that celebration came and went, and she never said anything, so she did not make good on her promise, and I think that had to do with a lot of the bad... Remember, this was even before Last Jedi came out, but there was already bad publicity for Solo because of all the problems and the firing directors. I don't think that she felt confident announcing it yet. And at this point, we don't even know if there's going to be more spin-off films after Solo. They might be too scared after what happened with Solo to do more spin-offs, at least one-off spin-offs. Sounds like they're going to do a whole trilogy of films with Rian Johnson, and then whatever they're going to do with the Game of Thrones guys. But that's probably going to be also multiple movies. Sounds like the whole, like, one movie this and one movie that might be over with Solo. Who knows? The Star Wars story movies might be over. But let's just say they do an Obi-Wan movie. It wouldn't be a bad idea for George Lucas to at least write the story because he is the creator of Star Wars. The best Star Wars movies came from him.
And this is his character.
And it is his character. And it wouldn't be that bad for him to write it. Now, again, we talk all about the pros and cons of his actual directing. But the stories that come out of George Lucas have never been bad.
Yes.
And, you know, maybe he does need a Lawrence Kasdan or somebody to come in and just kind of clean up the dialogue a little bit. But George Lucas's stories have always been fantastic. Yes, I would like him to write the Obi-Wan movie, and yes, I would like there to be an Obi-Wan movie, and yes, I would like it as soon as possible, and yes, if you're listening and you're not, it's Lucasfilm, please get on that shit.
Well, I think that's just your chance with Howard?
Ron Howard?
Ron Howard. Thank you. With Ron Howard coming back into this, having him take over that whole... Like, it would be super cool to have George Lucas and Ron Howard work together.
Yeah, from the beginning.
But just specifically on the spin-off films. Have them bring in all these other directors and stuff like that, all these really interesting people, like the Game of Thrones guys and all this stuff that they're doing, the Rian Johnson spin-off, like the three other films that he's going to do. Have them do that, proceed with that, but then have George Lucas and Ron Howard team up to crush the story. George Lucas trusts Ron Howard trusts George Lucas wrote it originally. Why not have him come in and wrap up those loose ends under the Disney bracket? Because all you're going to do, Disney, is make money.
Yeah, I think that no matter what happens with the Solo film, if it's bad at all, that's not Ron Howard's fault.
No.
He came into essentially a almost finished movie and then had to kind of, you know, dress it up a little bit. I really feel like if
he had to perform some plastic surgery. Yes. He didn't just dress it up.
Ron Howard, if he... And guys, a lot of you guys don't realize what it takes to actually be a director. It's not just being there every day on set, talking to the actors and getting the film in line with your vision. That's a huge part of it. Being a director means going to meetings a year before the movie even starts shooting, figuring out the pacing and the script, figuring out what the sets are going to look like, talking to the production designer, the set designer, the makeup designer. Literally, you're in conversations with everybody all day in meetings for a year before you actually go foot to camera, you know? Ron Howard didn't get to do that because he was brought in after two guys who had already did it were done with that part. So he had to, was kind of like working on, it's like eating the last third of a Laffy Taffy.
It really is.
It would be nice for Ron Howard. I would love to see a Star Wars movie directed by Ron Howard where he got to be the director the entire time.
Yeah, I think that would be really interesting to let him come in and finally take over it. It's going to be really interesting where they end up taking just that. I don't know what they're going to do. We have another question for you, Rich, if you want to answer this one while I continue to do what I'm doing over here. It says, I wonder, after The Last Jedi, would Star Tours, which actually I might be able to answer because I'm kind of the Disney king here, do a cool segment on Solo, like what planet to go to, what characters would you interact with in the ride, like for both Disneyland and Disney World. I think that would be an amazing... I think that would be an incredible opportunity for them to really kind of save that. I don't think there's any reason why not. They already had a little bit with
Rogue. Well, they added the Rogue One stuff, right?
Yes, they did. They added the planet, the main battle.
Scarif.
They added Scarif.
Scarif is already there. Yes. Star Tours is constantly getting updated, so I wouldn't worry about that. Like, I'm pretty sure... Like, the only reason why they haven't done some Last Jedi stuff was because of the bad publicity, but I can imagine them maybe adding that stuff a little bit later, but they will definitely add more stuff because they're always working on it.
Yeah. And we have a couple more questions here. We have, I'm sorry, the first one was Hockey Song, second one was Crazy Hannah Creations. Thank you guys both for your questions. We have Pranksta Films. Which Sith do you think looked the coolest? Maul, Vader, or Kylo? I think...
Well, first of all, Kylo Ren is not a Sith Lord.
Yes, and the answer is always Maul. Maul had such a terrible defeat, despite being just an incredible character and an extremely powerful dark side user.
Maul is really cool looking, but Vader is the gold standard. Without Vader, you're missing a quarter of movie history. You know? Like that. He's iconic to say the least. But Maul is really cool looking as well.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's definitely Vader there. Hockey Song asks another interesting question. Do you guys think the Russo brothers should work on a Star Wars film or TV series? And just in case you guys aren't super clear on who the Russo brothers are the brother team that directed such classic films as Captain America: The Winter Soldier, Captain America: Civil War,
and every film in the Marvel series Rich liked,
and the upcoming Avengers: Infinity War, and whatever they're calling the fourth one. The Russo brothers, they really, I think at least where they fit perfectly at Marvel is they not only bring an incredible suspenseful tone to movies and really drive out that character emotion without getting too deep into, like, that's why Civil War worked.
They don't monologue a lot.
How are you going to make a movie work with like 50 characters? Because they really get to the point but never feel like you're not getting enough. Their pacing is so on point, it's unbelievable. And that's why in Winter Soldier, a movie that really only focused on a few characters, that was freaking unbelievable. Probably the best Marvel movie still is Captain America: Winter Soldier.
Really good.
Love it. It's like a better spy film than the last couple James Bond movies, really. The Russo brothers, I think that they could touch anything and make it gold. Should they work? My only thing is, like, well, if they work on a Star Wars film, then that kind of takes away from their Marvel stuff. And as a fan, I like Star Wars a little bit more than I like Marvel.
Yeah.
But I would hate for Marvel to lose the Russo brothers because I think that's the best asset that they have.
That would be rough.
If I had to choose, I'd say I'd like them to stay at Marvel, although I know they can make a really badass Shadows of the Empire movie as well. But only if it's Shadows of the Empire. Otherwise, they should just stay at Marvel.
Yep. And keep asking your questions. If we see something come up, we will go ahead and answer it. But I have this little bit of just a little extra research I did just as far as Rian Johnson and his trilogy coming up. I know. I know. And the quotes and stuff that are coming out of here are just not... I was trying to defend him. because I thought he made a great movie. I personally liked The Last Jedi. It was not my favorite, but it was overall a good film. You can't say it sucked because it did its job. You can say it sucked canon-wise, but as far as a film goes independently, it was a good film.
I think I'm still waiting for fun. It's funny because I just have to see this trilogy to its end. I'm not going to be able to fully judge The Last Jedi until after I see Episode 9, because Force Awakens is like where we were, Last Jedi is where we are, and Episode 9 is where we're going. Mm-hmm. And just like how a lot of people didn't like Empire Strikes Back when it came out, but now we love it because we know what happens and we have closure. Exactly. So let's do Episode 9, and then we'll go back to Last Jedi and be like,
then we can have at it.
It was either, oh, you know what, actually that was pretty cool the way this ended up, or, oh, gee, I guess that really did suck. So.
Yep. And then, but the issue I'm having with Rian Johnson and his statements on how he's going to proceed with the next films is they're all things like Rian Johnson is trying to capture the spirit of the original Star Wars movies. So you didn't try to do that in The Last Jedi? Was that not an attempt? He also has been saying... Sorry,
where was that original spirit in The Last Jedi?
Yeah, I'm getting real salty. But there's also other ones where Rian Johnson's coming out with statements like, we need some directors who aren't white dudes.
Well, he's a white
dude. A white dude, and you're doing 3 more Star Wars films.
All right, cool. See you later on, Johnson. I'm glad you gave up your spot for someone else.
Anybody else. And it's just odd. Like, the quote specifically said, we need some directors who aren't white dudes. He says empathetically in spite of Lucas' track record of hiring only white directors, and Kennedy knows it. It just has to happen. I mean, come on, it has to happen. I don't know what he's trying to do. I don't understand how he can say he's trying to capture the spirit of the Star Wars film and then come out with these statements saying maybe he's prepping himself up to get fired. Maybe they're not going to let him do the 3. Maybe this is his preamble to him not doing the series.
Not to get political, but way to have like a white guy speak out for non-whites.
Yeah. I'm not even going to touch that. We're just not going to touch that, Rich. I don't know why you brought it up. I don't know why you did it. I mean, you did it, and here we are. Now I don't know where to go. But it's just... another one is Rian Johnson understands what he needs to do, Star Wars needs to do in order to survive. I actually really appreciate what he was trying to do in The Last Jedi. Maybe it wasn't placed the best. Maybe they could have done it a little differently, but I just think it's ridiculous that he has been doing this circuit right before Solo. I know why they're making him do it, because they're trying to distract from Solo, but why? Why would you say these things?
Crazy Hannah says bring back JJ, but again, he is back. He's directing Episode 9.
He's doing 9.
Hockey Song says if Rian Johnson gets fired, then it's a miracle.
I don't know if it'd be a miracle, but it'd probably be a welcome change.
I just don't understand. I feel like Kathleen Kennedy and Rian Johnson must have got along real well during the filming of Episode 8 because his movie is not better than Rogue One.
No.
Gareth Edwards should have gotten his own trilogy deal. I just don't understand.
Rogue One... I can't. I'm at this point where Rogue One is my new bar for all Star Wars films. All of them. Because you have to take a film that's relevant in order to set that bar. You can't say The Empire Strikes Back is your bar because we're just not there anymore. We're just not there technologically. We're just not there culturally, right? So we're moving forward. That being said, Rogue One did all of the things that The Last Jedi was trying to do in its own independent spin-off war series, which is the way spin-offs are supposed to be done. I would argue that's also the way that we should be doing Star Wars movies in the future. Tell a good story. It's as simple as that.
I actually love the way that Rogue One like bounced around like everywhere.
Yes,
like we got to see like
but it didn't
10
feel like
planets,
it.
You know.
But it didn't feel like that. They did a fantastic job of explaining what the mission was and then just having you go along the journey with these people, and it felt really natural.
Like, we got, Rebel Command, and then they're just like going everywhere. It's like, send them over to that planet, send them over to that planet. Yep. It's like, the mission. That was so can we just, like, if you're going to do another movie, I wish they could do, I know that you can't technically have a sequel to Rogue One because that would just be Episode 4.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And if, you can't have those same characters because, spoiler alert, they all died. Correct. But you could do a movie a lot like that.
You could. Like, you could do the Boba Fett spinoff you want?
So,
you could do the Boba Fett spinoff.
Well, that would be all mercenaries, and that would be close. But here's what I suggest. You want to have a movie, if you're a fan of Rogue One, like I am, you could have a movie pretty much just like that, to have it take place between episodes 4 and 5, so right after the first Death Star is destroyed, and explore stuff that's only been explored in comics so far, which is the birth of the Rogue Squadron. Now, you've had, like they showed us in Rogue One that there's, like, Blue Squadron, Red Squadron, like, all the squadrons that we're kind of familiar with from episode 4, but you'll notice starting with Empire, they only refer to it as Rogue Squadron. That's because what happened was the destroying the first Death Star unified all the rebel, what was the factions, I guess, the rebel factions.
To Rogue.
Now everyone really believed that the Rebel Alliance had a chance to defeat the Empire, so it united all the rebel factions together, and rather than, like, this Senate owns this squadron and blah, 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 everybody came together to form Rogue Squadron, led by Wedge Antilles. If we can please tell that story, because I love the Rogue Squadron video games, and the Rogue Squadron novels, guess what? We're also really good. Maybe my second favorite, the first Rogue Squadron novel, maybe my second favorite Star Wars novel after Shadows of the Empire, but they're probably never going to do that, so you might as well do Rogue Squadron and have a good story there.
So good. So good.
Mark Hamill doesn't care if they make a CG young Luke.
Yeah, he doesn't. Mark Hamill's like Carrie. He doesn't care. Just, he likes his character, but he understands it's got to move on. So this is going to be our last question, unless somebody comes up with something really good, because I don't think Rich has ever gone through favorite films 1 through 8. I want you to rank them all.
Oh, no, I did. It was the very first video on this very channel.
I think we just did the first 4. I think we did top 3 or top 4. I don't think we did all of them.
If you go to my review, for my non-spoiler review for The Last Jedi, which is the first video uploaded to this channel, it used to be a video on Rich Alders, but then I carried it over to here. Okay. I actually do tell my complete list, but I'll say it again.
Yeah, do it. I hope I don't do it for the people.
Fudge it up. So I'll start at the very bottom. Number 8 on this list is Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Although I don't hate the prequels like a lot of people do. I actually like the prequels, but as far as films go, they are still the weakest of the films. And Episode 2 was just kind of boring in some places. So I'm not gonna go balls deep on these. By the way, these are just like miniature explanations. Are you gonna keep track so I don't fudge it up?
I'm gonna keep track of your list, and then I'm gonna edit it for you.
Okay. So there's Episode 2. That's number 8. That's the last. Number 7, second to last, is Episode 1. Better than Episode 2 because I just loved the way that it was filmed. The last Star Wars movie before the sequel trilogy to be filmed in 35mm, and it just looked cinematically breathtaking. If you can forgive a few annoying Jar Jar parts, Episode 1 is a really solid movie. I love Episode 1 a lot, especially that Darth Maul fight at the end is maybe one of the best lightsaber fights ever. Number 6 on my list would be Episode 3. Probably the best of the prequels, connects everything together, great, Darth Vader transformation at the end, yada, yada, yada. Number 5 on this list would be... believe I had number 5 as The Force Awakens. It's kind of just in the middle of this list. It was really great coming back to Star Wars. Not perfect, but still pretty good. Number 4? Is that where we're at? Then that would be A New Hope, because it's the original. It's pretty high on the list, and it still holds up. It's pretty good. So I had Last Jedi as number 3, but I made this right after I saw the movie for the first time. I might rank it a little bit lower these days, but this is just what my list was. So number 3 was The Last Jedi, and then number 2 was Return of the Jedi, and number 1 is Empire Strikes Back. And I think number 1 and 2 kind of speak for themselves. I love Empire Strikes Back. Perfect Star Wars movie. Really, like, everything after Empire is trying to be Empire. And then, of course, Return of the Jedi is great. And a big reason to that is because it's the first time we saw Palpatine. You will die. Do it. Of course, he doesn't say that in this
movie, don't care. It's my favorite line.
It's more about, your hate has made you powerful. Now you will take your father's place at my side. Do it. Do it. Yeah, Palpatine's so good. Yeah, so that's my list. I already forgot what it was, but
I got you. It's in order of ascending.
Oh, okay.
Descending.
Now we're
doing number 1 back to 8. Number 1 for Rich is Empire, then followed by Return
of the Jedi,
then The Last Jedi, then A New Hope, then Force Awakens, then Episode 3.
Episode 1,
then Episode 2.
Cool.
Yes, and for me, because I'm a big old fan of the tech, I don't really care the story as long as it looks pretty and they come up with new ideas. I personally rank Clones where A New Hope is, and everything else gets gets down one.
Gotcha.
I really enjoyed
So it's
Attack
just
of the
like,
Clones. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and then if we're going to add Rogue One into that list and make it a list of 9, Rogue One is my favorite movie in the Star Wars film, and it is Rich's second. Right? Under Empire? Strikes Back? Right?
Did I forget to put Rogue One on that list?
Yeah, but that wasn't one of the 8. That was a spinoff.
Oh,
Yeah, so-
I did have Rogue One on my list.
You did,
though.
which I think was number 2.
Yeah, it was real high. It was like
Yep.
2 or 3 or something.
So-
Rogue. I love Rogue One to death. I mean, the only reason why it's not higher than Empire Strikes Back is nostalgia.
Correct. But you guys helped us get there, and despite this crap news on Solo film this week, we did have a lot of interesting things just as far as speculation on what they're going to do. It's going to be like that really until the film releases. I think it's going to be pretty rough as far as the news cycle goes. But we have made it 1 hour, specifically your Star Wars Hour.
Your Star Wars Hour.
Yes.
Thank you guys so much for watching Star Wars Hour right here on the Star Wars Network. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And what do you do after you subscribe?
You hit the dingle dangles to get the jingle jangles.
Yes. Hit the bell to get notified.
Yeah.
And then like and comment this video once it becomes a public permanent video. And please, please tell all your friends to subscribe and watch the Star Wars Network.
Bye-bye.
I'm Tavares.
I'm not.